comic books are an important contributing factor in many cases of juvenile.
Up in the sky!
Faster than a speeding bullet.
Holy, here we go again, Batman.
Hello, and welcome to These Guys Have Issues, the podcast where we discuss current topics and issues within the comic book community. I am your host, Carter Hutchison.
And I'm your co-host, Mike Thomas.
And Mike, we have I think this is going to be a really fun show today.
It definitely is.
So it's kind of in honor of the new Doom Patrol show that just dropped on the DC app this past Friday. We are going to be pitching shows that we would like to see on the DC streaming app. And kind of the caveats that we've given ourselves for that is when DC first announced the app, it came with an announcement of 5 TV shows, 3 of which were live action, and 2 of which were animated. So we're sticking to the same parameters of 3 live action and 2 animated, but they cannot be any property or any character that already has a movie announced or a TV show already or something like that. So basically a brand new character to a TV medium. Did you have fun doing this, man?
Oh my gosh, I had so much fun. Because I kept thinking about this, like, the first names that came off my head were, ones I'm going to explain later, but I started thinking about it even more, and I'm like, man, they could really do something really well if they decided to pitch this, or if they did this superhero some justice by giving him a shout out with an animated featurette. Because a lot of these characters aren't, in the budget to have live action stuff.
Sure.
You can't do a live action with everybody, and the DC animated series are by far some of the best animation we've ever seen, best storytelling of any superhero in superhero lore, I should say. Marvel is doing a good job with the big blockbuster movies,
right,
but DC has constantly been there with the animated stuff.
Sure, and TV, I would say. Their TV sector is stronger, in my opinion, than what all the CW shows started before and are still going now that the Netflix shows are canceled.
Yeah, they are.
So,
but not Smallville.
But not Smallville.
Not
One
Smallville.
day. Okay, so how do you want to do this? Do you want to start with your live action or start with your animated and then end up with your live? Is there one that you're most proud of that you want to end with? Is it a live action or animated?
It's a live action.
Okay,
and
so
I'm
how
pretty
about
stoked
this?
about it.
You start with your animated and go to your live action.
Okay.
And I'll start with my live action and go to my animated.
Okay.
Cool. Because I think the ones that I think are the most original ideas are the animated ones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to do an honorable mention now, or do you want to?
We'll do that at the end.
Okay, cool. That's
fine.
fine. That's
cool.
fine.
So before we get into the main meat of our podcast here, just a quick message from our Patreon. All of Grassroots Comics is funded through our Patreon, patreon.com/grassrootscomics. For as little as $1 a month, you can become part of the Grassroots Comics community, which includes many perks, such as having your name mentioned in this segment of every episode of the podcast. And the episode today does have a sponsor. I want to give a shout out to Rick Wilkerson. Thank you, Rick, for letting this podcast happen tonight. The ability to suggest topics of discussion for shows like These Guys Have Issues. Access to the private Grassroots Comics subreddit where members can continue discussions started on the podcast or start their own. Behind-the-scenes access to the GRC studio, and early access to digitally released comics and Classic Cartoon Rewind. So it is the goal of all of us here at Grassroots Comics Productions that one day the Patreon is strong enough where we are able to produce the stories, artwork, and stop-motion animation shorts pitched and selected by the Grassroots Comics community. But the only way that becomes possible is with a strong Patreon. So if you feel that the entertainment value you receive from this podcast is at least worth 25 cents, then please become a Patreon contributor today, and with our powers combined, we can have all of our stories heard. All right, now let's get on with the rest of the show.
Cool.
All right, so you want to kick us off?
Yeah,
do the first one?
I'll do the first one.
Okay.
So one of the coolest storylines that came out of the New 52 was the Stormwatch storyline. And it gave us a sense of what the Martian Manhunter was all about, Apollo was all about, all these other superheroes that weren't getting mainstream attention, but this storyline came out and it just was amazing because you're talking about, it was almost like a Guardians of the Galaxy version of DC superheroes.
Okay.
You put this hodgepodge of characters that have never teamed up before, really, and you had them patrolling the universe. They were a sense of the first line of protection to galactic events.
Sure.
They had this awesome spaceship that was controlled by, oh my gosh, I can't remember her name now. Dang it, I had it in my head earlier. She was controlled by one of Dr. Morrow's robots.
Okay.
And Angie was her nickname.
Okay.
I can't remember what her full name was, but Angie was her nickname. She would control the ship. You had Hawkman on there as well at some points, but they traveled in the interdimensions.
Yeah, who all is on this team? For those who aren't.
Oh, there's so many people. I
familiar
have to go
with it.
look it up real quick. But they traveled on the ship that goes through what's called the bleed, and the bleed kind of just goes in between the dimensions. If you think about
That's genius.
in the Convergence storyline, how they had like
Yeah.
the world view or the universe view of how like you had our Earth and the 52 Earths around it and then whatnot. There was always this interdimensional space called the bleed, and the ship could go in between each dimensions.
Do you know what that's a reference to? So the bleed is a term when it comes to actually like physically making comic books. So when you're making the page, you want to have a bleed so that you don't have like little thin white lines at the bottom around your pages, right? So that the cutter can hit it and it won't go over into the bleed.
I remember reading that.
So that's really cool that they call the spaces between worlds basically is the bleed, which is actually a thing in our reality. It's just with the physical process of making comic books.
Yeah, but you had some of like the most, I mean, not necessarily iconic, but you've got a lot of superheroes that, like I said, you got Apollo is one of them. Amethyst, she was more of the mystical.
Yeah.
You know,
Let's get some Gym World stuff going on.
You always get her and Frankenstein together. Frankenstein ends up, I think, joining Stormwatch at some point. Get Backlash, which is not really a name brand superhero that you would think of. Black Betty, Blade Master, Blitz. You get Comanche. I mean, some of these ones are like 90s.
Oh yeah, this is bottom of the barrel type stuff.
Damascus,
Deathbow.
Bow.
Who Drax was, before
Exactly.
Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Engineer. She was
That's Angie.
that's Angie.
Gotcha.
Engineer would control the ship, and you actually had Etrigan in it at some point.
Okay.
A lot of these characters were interchangeable to stuff.
Etrigan in space. That's a weird place to put
it really is. It really is. Gosh, you got Fuji's in it as well. Hawkman, another notable one that we all know. Hawkman didn't make it until later, but yeah, there's a ton, man.
And you're pitching this as a live action?
No, this is animated.
Animated. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Animated, because there would be no way. Yeah, there would be no way to do this on a live action budget. But it would be really neat to see them just actually follow the 52 storyline, and then even the points where you can make a crossover event and do Convergence, and have their aspect of having Frankenstein and Amethyst team up together to save Hawkman and Angie and all of them. Ray Palmer's in it at some point, but this is like a crazed Ray Palmer. It's not like the Ray Palmer we know today. Like he shrank down too much and it would mess with his mind.
Sure.
Yeah. But it's got a really cool feel to be like a comedic value, but also a very serious tone, and setting up relationships between different superheroes that we didn't know, and then also putting in the superheroes that we do know, like make Batman have an appearance, make Superman have an appearance, make Wonder Woman have an appearance down the line, but strictly stick to these people and kind of just show their forefront of how awesome they actually are. Because, I mean, Apollo is super, super strong, and people forget that.
Right.
And then so is Martian Manhunter.
Is Midnighter in this, too? I didn't see him on that list. That our producer, UV, sent us a list of everybody. But because, I mean, that would be a good relationship to play up as the Apollo Midnighter.
Yeah, I can't remember if he actually is in it.
You could bend it, though, just for the
definitely.
Just add what you want to.
Merlin's... No, he's in it. He's in it at some point. I don't know if he's in the New 52 storyline, but he's a member of it at some point. Okay. Merlin is a member of it. I mean, you're talking about like actual like mystical beings being in this stuff. So one of Swamp Thing's, I guess you could call him villains, but not really a villain. Pagan.
Okay.
He makes an appearance in it at some point. But a lot of these people are, not like Rose Tattoo. Formerly immortal spirit of murder, Rose was capable of killing anything and anyone. She turned into a spirit of life by the Doctor and served as a member of the Authority for a short while encountering with Henry Bendrix, drove her back to becoming the spirit of murder. So,
Spirit of murder.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not to be confused with the spirit of vengeance.
Right.
But it's just a neat thing. I was going with the Spectre there.
Well, the Spectre is God's wrath.
Yeah.
Is a physical embodiment of God's wrath. That's so badass to say.
It really is. It really is. But it's just really neat to think about having that as an animated series. And from when the first comic book I read in the New 52 storyline, I was like, this is really cool. And then I just got hooked. And it just would be really cool just to see that on the screen, like
could easily
animated. I wouldn't go as far as I know of people who would actually be voice actors.
Sure.
But you could even just do some of the people that were in the Justice League Unlimited.
Sure. Basically, just get Andrea Romano as your casting producer, and then she'll get it right. If you don't know who Andrea Romano is, every cartoon you've ever liked, Andrea Romano was the producer on it. Yeah,
casting agent.
It's in that woman. Just IMDb her. That woman's IMDb page is insanity.
Longer than Kevin Bacon's.
Wow. Yeah.
But yeah, that's my first animated one.
Okay.
So
cool. All right. Okay. All right. So let's see. I'm starting with my live action ones here. All right. So this first one, I'm bending the rules just a little bit. Our own parameters that we set.
Oh my gosh.
While these two characters have shows in a movie, they have not been put together, and no one has done the specific storyline. And the storyline I'm referring to is Hard Traveling Heroes. So Hard Traveling Heroes is a story from the 70s, written by Denny O'Neil, and it pairs Green Lantern and Green Arrow. So basically the idea is that Green Lantern's out in space doing all these spacey, cosmic-y cop things, right? And it has kind of become detached to the people here on Earth. So when he does come to Earth, he is like, he's flying around this neighborhood and he sees a group of people like beating up on this kind of like big, overweight guy, right? So he swoops down and he stops that from happening. But it turns out that guy they were beating up was like a slumlord. And the people who were beating him up were his like neglected tenants, right?
Ooh.
So Green Arrow comes to kind of show him what things have changed, really, and it's basically it is so relevant to today because it's the political left and the political right. The political left represented by Green Arrow, and the political right represented by Green Lantern. So basically, think of the movie like Easy Rider, but with tights.
Okay.
So Green Lantern and Green Arrow travel across America to try to like find the spirit of America, right?
I didn't think about that, but
but it's just wild that this story is over 40 years old and is like maybe even more relevant today than it was now, in a time when our country is so divided. To actually see these two heroes who are on from different sides of the political spectrum come together and have like an actual like discussion about it is political bluntness at its best.
So there's a lot of times DC does this where they call it the quote unquote brave and the bold. You see it a lot of time with Batman and Superman. This is where you see it with Green Lantern and Green Arrow. Yeah, they have a ton of like ton of just team up comics where it's like brave and the bold, and I think this storyline falls in that. I think it was like 70s to early. Maybe even late, like early 90s, late 80s, where they kind of did crossovers where it was like, we're going to call Brave and the Bold. Yeah. And everything was called Brave and the Bold when they did the two hero featurettes.
This was just Green Lantern / Green Arrow was how this was, published. But I have a clip here, and this just kind of shows you like what the social relevancy of the series would touch on. And it's right there in the very beginning. This is in the first few pages of the first issue of this series. And this older African-American man walks up to Green Lantern, and I'm reading directly from the comic now. He says, "I've been reading about you, Green Lantern, how you work for the blue skins, and how on a planet, someplace, you helped out the orange skins, and you done considerable for the purple skins. Only there's skins you never bothered with, the black skins. I want to know how come. Answer me that, Mr. Green Lantern." Like, that is just... That's right in your face with it, right?
It really is.
I think if done right, a series like this could win legitimate awards. The show director that I would choose would be Aaron Sorkin of The West Wing or Newsroom. I think he would knock something like this out of the park. Another good choice, I think, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of this guy's name.
Well, trust me, I'm going to do that a lot later on with the actors that I have for my live action stuff. So
it is Kerry Jaji Fukanyanga. And I should know this guy's name because he is directing the next Bond movie. But he also directed season 1 of True Detective, which if you watch that is really, really good stuff. So that kind of feeds into my casting a little bit. If you get Mr. Fuka, that guy, I think there's a world where you could get Matthew McConaughey as the Green Lantern and Woody Harrelson as Green Arrow.
So this is the
and
thing.
actually put them together.
This sounds like an amazing storyline, but it's not for DC streaming.
Here's more likely options, and this would be if Aaron Sorkin is the showrunner. I think Nathan Fillion would make a good Green Lantern.
He's just
he's got to lose some weight after he gained some castle pounds.
Yeah, that's true.
I think James Marsden would make a really good Green Lantern.
Yeah,
and he is gettable for sure. What is James Marsden doing
for the DC streaming app though? No, man.
Okay. First off, as well, do this as a mini series, so it's a limited run.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but still though,
You got Timothy Dalton to be the chief from Doom Patrol. You got Brandon Fraser to be Robot Man. In
yeah,
Doom
but
Patrol.
where's Brandon Fraser's career at right now?
Where's James Marsden's career?
It
Name
doesn't-
me the last thing he was in.
Hairspray?
That was how many years ago? I think it was
He
in
made
high
a
school
cameo.
when that
He made a
came out?
cameo in Days of Future Past. He was in a Nicholas Sparks
I
book.
think you're proving my point for me. That
I'm
he
just
doesn't
saying,
have too
though,
much going on in his career.
But when you have James Marsden and you have the Mummy guy, Brendan Fraser,
Fraser.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's different levels, man. Like,
yeah, Brandon Fraser was a bigger star.
no,
Yes, he is.
no, he's not. James Marsden is definitely.
This
a
is
bigger star.
ridiculous. James Marsden is. If you said, "Hey, do you want to be the lead on a series?" James Marsden would do it.
He would, but then he would ask, "What's
All
it
right.
for?"
Yes.
Yeah, because he's going to say if it's
to
for
work with
DC
Aaron
streaming,
Sorkin.
it's going to be on the DC streaming app. This show would be amazing if it was on actual primetime TV, where people could get it and they didn't have to pay for it.
No one gives a fuck about primetime TV anymore.
Yes, they do.
No, they
yes.
don't,
Then why
dude.
is Grey's Anatomy one of the longest running shows?
Old white people give a shit about.
Dude, I watch
Prime.
Grey's Anatomy all the time. I love Grey's. You're just talking about you're talking about all the stuff that the CW's put out that DC
Mm-hmm.
is. That is primetime TV. Supergirl, Arrow. This
If
storyline
you
is amazing
came-
enough.
If you came to an actor on the level of James Marsden, who apparently is very busy in your book, he's booked till 2020 here.
We're going off a huge tangent. right now.
If you came to him and said, "Hey, we've got Aaron Sorkin on. We're doing we want this show to be legitimately good, not just fun. A potential for awards here. We want you to be the co-lead." He would jump at that, and that's the end of that. Unless you got anything else to add to that.
I was just going to see what he was up next in.
Okay. My choice for Green Arrow would probably be Travis Fimmel, who is Ragnar from Vikings.
Never watched.
He's got the right look for Oliver Queen, and
Is it primetime? Vikings. Vikings is on primetime.
but the emphasis on network television is not there. Is my point. That most any awards stuff, you might have some actual television stuff peppered in there, but it's mostly your Netflixes, your Hulu original series, your HBO stuff. Those are the kind of things that are winning awards.
yeah, but you're talking about if I put this show on Netflix or if I put this show on Hulu, it's totally different than putting it on the DC streaming app.
But, dude, if you can get Timothy Dalton and Brandon Fraser, I guess the Marston's got nothing else going on, dude. He would be there. All right. What is your... Let me shit on your idea next. What is...
No, dude, I love your idea. You took it the wrong way. I love that. I love that
I know,
storyline. It'd be
I know.
amazing.
I get it. What?
Well, damn.
What's your second one?
My second
And this is your other
animated,
right?
yeah. My
Okay.
second animated one is I want Captain Atom.
Real quick. Text from Huey, our producer, Huey V. James Marsden is going to be in the Sonic movie, so...
He was in Westworld for 20 episodes.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, and that is a HBO
Right.
primetime.
Mhm.
That's not DC streaming.
Dude, he would do it. Is there a paycheck?
Dude, it's going to be in
He'd
Once
be
Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is probably going to be the most
Now, that
amazing
could be
movie
good.
in the
True.
history of
And
movies.
we may have to re-examine this if
Exactly.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood blows
Actually-
up James Marsden's career. But I might take the safe bet there and think that that's not going to happen. Somebody named Leonardo DiCaprio might overshadow him.
Oh, but there's a ton of people in that movie, so he
Yeah,
might get
exactly.
overshadowed by a ton of people. It may be like Saving Private Ryan when you got Vin Diesel in there, and no one realizes that Vin Diesel's in that movie.
Oh, you're right.
And then Black Hawk Down, that Tom Hardy's first real role was in that movie, and everybody forgets
I
it.
forget about both of those.
Exactly.
Wow, good pulls.
So,
All right, your second animated show.
my
sir.
second animated show is Captain Atom. I think that Captain Atom is just a unique character that DC put out. You know, there's no, I mean, I guess you could call him like an accidental experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Nuclear bomb goes off. He absorbs the energy. He becomes Captain Atom. The Justice League version, of course, I would want that costume. The iconic silver
with the
with
red.
yes. But then there's also a costume in Kingdom Come where he's older. It's got like this really weird etched like star symbol on him, and it's got like it's almost like a cross. You got two bars going through his chest like a cross and then down, and you've got this weird symbol like an atom in the middle. I love that, and I love the aspect of it that it's like reflective.
Okay.
It's not necessarily like just this gray suit how we got in that, and I feel like the animated show could put that on.
Sure.
Maybe not necessarily
Some computer animation stuff
yes,
that could look really
yes, and it would be more geared towards not necessarily like kiddie, but it would be in that frame of like Young Justice, and
Yeah.
you know, maybe the early Teen Titans
Sure.
stuff. It wouldn't be necessarily adult,
good. Super adult. Absolutely.
but I need him to have an origin story. Like he has
You
to
gotta
start
do
out
that.
with an origin story.
Most
He can't just
people
pick
aren't
up.
familiar with
Yeah,
Captain Atom.
You can't just pick up with him. So I feel that he needs an origin story to where you find out about his powers, how he's making out, and then also one of the things I wanted to touch on with him is that I want the story to go from where he is, because his origin background is he's a U.S. soldier, atom bomb goes off, an experiment, he absorbs all the radiation, doesn't die, everybody else dies. So he now works for the government, he's a captain, he has to deal with what the government tells him to do. In this modern age, he's conflicted with all the stuff that the government is telling him he needs to do and he can't do. It's almost
It's like shady.
yeah,
ethically.
it's almost like Civil War aspect of Captain America,
Oh, that'd be
where
a
he
great twist to put on Captain Atom.
exactly because he is supposed to be this all Boy Scout, and you even see it in the Justice League
Right.
show where Superman fights him,
Mm-hmm.
and like Superman beats the crap out of him, and then the Katniss people come in and they talk about how they're trying to get him away, and then Superman's like, "No, don't touch him. He's Justice League," and he just picks him up and walks away. And I feel that Captain Atom could be on the cusp of that in this show,
Yeah.
where it shows him conflicted about working with the government and then wanting to work with the Justice League and wanting to be his own hero and helping out everyone around the world. So he doesn't want to work for the government anymore. So this is like the overarching plot line for like
Okay.
the whole
Yeah.
series.
The theme of the series.
Yeah, theme of the series. And he could just be a great, just one shot. Like you could bring superheroes in if you
Yeah.
wanted to, but I feel he'd get more play from like actual, like just a sergeant or just a colonel or just a Joe Schmo off the street. Because Captain Atom, the only other person we associate Captain Atom with is Major Force, and Major Force is a psycho. And he could be one of those intangible characters where we like see him at some point throughout the series.
Yeah.
He's not necessarily Captain Atom's main bad guy, but he's a guy that constantly pops up and always makes Captain Atom question stuff, because Major Force will do anything the government tells him.
Okay.
Risky stuff, putting Kyle Rayner's girlfriend in the refrigerator.
Does Major Force have any powers?
He does.
Okay.
He is like, he can absorb energy as well. He can manipulate his matter.
So he's bad Captain Atom.
Pretty much. He's
Okay.
more psychotic too.
Okay.
Because anything that the government tells him to do, he doesn't question it. He just does it.
Sure.
Major Force, go destroy this village in Baghdad. Okay,
Right.
cool.
Any kind of Black Ops
Yeah.
mission.
Go
Women and children.
go assassinate
Don't
the ruler of Yugoslavia.
Right.
You know, something like that. And Captain Atom is like, I'm really conflicted if we really need to drop bombs on this village when there's children here. And kind of just the government authority in itself.
Yeah.
And I want him to have conflicts with Amanda Waller.
Absolutely.
So that would be probably like the triangle that he goes back between Amanda Waller, the president, because
Okay.
he is pretty much the right hand of the president at this point. Like
Okay.
he is not
Is
Superman.
it just a random president in your series, or is it someone is Lex Luthor president?
We could
You
have
know?
Lex Luthor president at some point, which
Okay.
would be really cool, because in the Batman Superman comic book Public Enemies,
Yeah.
he does work for the government and he follows what Lex Luthor tells him. And
Captain Atom does.
Yeah, Captain Atom
Okay.
does. Captain Atom does. You in that group you have Starfire, but you have some other group of superheroes that kind of they're just trying to do what the government's telling them to do because it's what's right. and then Captain Adam's conflicted with it. I feel like that the first president could not be Lex, and then Lex would be
and then
later.
You have an election or something.
Yes, and then it starts where he's like, man,
maybe that's the end of your season 1, and that
Exactly,
sets up season 2.
exactly.
Is how is Captain Adam gonna deal with now
Yes.
having a clearly compromised head of state?
yes. So,
Which also might be strangely applicable to times we live in.
oh, definitely,
Right?
yes.
Right?
See, and this would be so meta as well. And I would want to see this as a live action, but I feel like it would just get really super expensive.
Yeah, it would.
Down the
But
line.
just given the nature of Captain Adam's powers.
Yeah,
He's
And
basically
it's-
Dr. Manhattan, right?
Pretty much.
Really, Dr. Manhattan was based on Captain Adam. Because, quick little backstory, Captain Adam is a Charlton Comics character. So that includes, like, Black Canary, Question. Watchmen was originally supposed to be the Charlton Comics characters. And then DC kind of got cold feet that, like...
it would be well received.
And, well, that Alan Moore was doing these very adult things with, like, Nightman, or, like, Night Owl and stuff.
Yeah.
Or I can't remember who Night Owl was based off of. So they're basically like, all right, you
Batman.
basically just do these stories, but you have to change the name of the characters.
Yeah.
So that forced him to, do his own thing. Okay, so I
That's
guess
my
no
say.
casting stuff because animated.
Yeah, I mean, you could get. I thought about.
I'd get the Young Justice people.
Yeah.
It sounds really
It's-
up there, like...
It does.
You know who would be great? And I'm just on a kick of these people right now, but the people that made Avatar: The Last Airbender and
yeah.
Voltron.
Yeah, those guys. Any voice actor in that, you could just do it. The guy who plays Jaime Lannister was actually the one that first came to my mind as a voice actor.
Him as,
Playing him, and then go back to Stormwatch. I thought a lot of Game of Thrones characters could play, like Jorah Mormont being Hawkman.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
That would be good.
So, but that's my second one.
Okay, cool. Okay, my second live action, I wanted to make sure that we had a lady on the list here at least.
Oh. Didn't even think about that.
Yeah, representation, man.
Yeah, I know.
Here we
Sorry.
go. So mine is going to be Huntress.
Nice.
Now, for those who aren't familiar with Huntress, there's several different versions, and the current is a Helena Bertinelli. It's probably the name you would most associate with Huntress. But there's a version from the Silver Age that I think would make the most interesting TV show. And it's this alternate reality, kind of. It would have been Earth 2 or whatever they were calling it in the actual 70s. But it is where Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle get married, and they have a daughter, and her name is Helena Wayne. So yeah, I would set this in the 70s. So actually, like late 60s, early 70s, actually set it in the time that the comics were coming out with Huntress. And then I don't think her purple costume with the like big pointy horns and stuff would look quite as silly, just in like a 70s kind of gritty background.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm envisioning like if Mad Men had continued another decade, Mad Men in skirts.
Yeah. No, I
Right,
gotcha.
so a female Don Draper basically is the lead.
Yeah.
Basically, the main thing going on with Helena Wayne would be that she's constantly trying to live up to her idyllic representations of what her dad was and her mom. Like dealing with the two parts of her that are equally Batman and equally Catwoman. So kind of a lure to always go to cross that line that Catwoman did. But then the part of Bruce and her that will like keep her coming back to that,
gotcha.
right?
Yeah.
While also trying to run Wayne Enterprises, which has been partially bequeathed to her.
So would she be like a shady businessman sometimes?
I would have someone
Businesswoman?
within Wayne Enterprise trying to force her out.
Ah.
So there is someone who's doing the day-to-day operation stuff, like that guy in Batman Begins.
Yeah.
That didn't get the memo.
Yeah, didn't
Right.
give him a guy.
Okay. Something like that. So that maybe that's the end of season 1 is she gets full control of Wayne Enterprise.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So showrunners, I would get either Catherine Bigelow, which is a phenomenal director. Just her list of movies says it self-explanatory. Or whoever is the creative team behind The Deuce. Have you watched any of that on HBO?
The Deuce.
Yeah,
I've seen bits and pieces of it.
James Franco is in it.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
it's about like the 70s like porn industry.
Yes, okay,
Basically
yeah.
that exact show aesthetic,
Oh my
but
gosh.
with Huntress in it.
You could even just put the whole cast as that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me.
Is it Maggie Gyllenhaal?
I was about to say I wouldn't quite go Maggie Gyllenhaal. I was thinking younger.
Okay.
The two casting choices I found after scouring the internet a little bit was and I might mispronounce these names again, Anya Taylor-Joy. She is in Split, Glass, and The Witch. And then there's a Odeya Rush, who is in The Giver, Goosebumps, and Lady Bird. But both of them have like this very like angled face where you would believe that this is the daughter of Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle,
I get what you're saying.
right?
Yeah.
With this kind of like slightly exotic underneath, like undertone to it, which to me is like Selena.
Yeah.
Yes, that's my second one.
That's awesome.
Huntress.
Man. I would like that, actually.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Um,
And they basically, Batman and Catwoman would have been heroes in the 30s and 40s when their comics were first coming out. I would have them dead, so that way we're not having to show an older Bruce Wayne or older Selena Kyle that Helen is having to visit or
this
something
is her
like
own
that.
show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Maybe even like a grown-up Dick Grayson makes an
Yeah,
appearance
I was
or
just
something
thinking
like
about that.
You
Or
could
about
branch
Barbara
out
Gordon.
with other Bat Family stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe Barbara Gordon is running the GCPD at this point.
Or Metropolis PD.
That's an interesting idea. Did you just pull that out of
I
thin
did.
air?
I really did.
That's a legit good idea, Mike.
Um,
that she would want to get out of her dad's shadow in Gotham and move to
and
Metropolis.
so she's got
Someone needs to steal that.
right. We're telling people to steal it right now.
Yeah, pretty much.
So it's free.
Right.
It's on Podbean. It's
Listen,
Spotify.
we blow this app enough on our show.
We really do.
anyways,
I mean, like we could just put a big old DC sponsored podcast, DC streaming app right now.
That's going to be the picture for this podcast when it gets up. It's the DC.
Just
I mean,
the
what
DC
else would it
logo.
be? Well, the DC universe.
Oh yeah,
logo.
yeah. That's
Right. That makes sense.
I'm
right?
okay with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that'd be really neat because then she could have a connection to Metropolis.
Yeah.
So Superman's out there, but he's not in this area.
Yeah.
So it still stays within like the Batman lore.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
That's so cool, man. So I'm moving into my 3 live action.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to save the best for last
Okay.
because I love that idea and it's so cool. So I'm going to go with Cadmus Academy.
Sweet.
So this is a live action, and this, if you don't know what Cadmus is, it's the United States experimenting on the metahuman gene. So you have it's almost like a take of like Xavier's School for Gifted Children, but not necessarily that entailed, where you don't get mutants or metahumans teaching metahumans. You get humans teaching metahumans how to use their powers, and maybe the occasional metahuman that's governmentally owned, i.e. Captain Atom coming in there and teaching these kids how to use their powers and then how to be a member of society.
Cool.
So in the back of my mind, though, the school is actually, the teachers are all OMACs.
Nice.
And the kids don't know it. And so these kids are pretty much raised in this school from birth. They don't know who their parents were. They've been kind of force-fed stuff through their brains saying that they're off at this boarding school learning these tactics and stuff to help better.
Is that an actual thing from the comics, the Cadmus Academy? Or
No,
is that
it's
so
not.
This is
yeah.
Cool.
So like Cadmus always has this thing where they're experimenting on metahumans.
Right, no, that's
and
a good idea, though, to put them in
a school,
some kind of school.
yeah.
And, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, kinda
Our
like- producer
producer UV just texted in, kind of like the Hive.
Yeah,
Totally.
pretty
Or
much.
Like Umbrella Academy.
Exactly.
Is doing the same thing on Netflix now.
Yeah. It gives that kind of sense of like these kids don't know really anything out of the outside world. And so the first whole season is just the backstory of these kids, becoming the metahumans, having the metahuman gene, being taught by Cadmus and unbeknownst to them, OMACs. And so one kid figures it out that like, hey, we have stuff implanted.
Right.
And so they're trying to find their ways out of Cadmus. So that's like the first season. It's like trying to find the way out. Second season will build upon them actually getting out of Cadmus and on the run.
Nice.
So Cadmus is tracking them down while they still have friends that are in Cadmus Academy, and Cadmus actually turns them against each other. So you have like their friends fighting each other back and forth, and they go in these small skirmishes and they try to get people to recruit them back. And they end up finding the Justice League.
Okay.
But not the Justice League that we know.
From the movies, obviously not.
No, not from the movies, and not even from necessarily like the CW stuff either.
Right.
We're talking about like
The
Justice League.
Berlantiverse.
Yeah, like we're talking like Justice League's heroes like Black Canary and Green Arrow, and maybe like the Red Tornado.
Like the B roster.
Yeah, your Red Tornado's in there. The one person that's a big name that they would find and seek help from is not a good guy. It's from Deadshot.
Okay.
Because Deadshot is with Amanda Waller. He works for Cadmus. He's in Suicide Squad. They find him, and Deadshot's character always kind of borders on, I do everything for paycheck. I do everything for money. When he finds these kids that are on the run for Cadmus, he kind of changes his heart. So you kind of get the older figure in there as well, along with these younger aspect teens.
You need the mentor figure in a team like that.
And then in season 3, they go back to Cadmus because they all get caught and they all get brainwashed. So it's like you start the promos of like just it's like Ready Player One mask on their eyes, and they're just being force fed stuff.
See,
and
I was picturing like A Clockwork Orange, where the guy's eyes are like pinned back by the thing.
You could do that too, but on the bottom of the promotion would be like, "We are one, we are Cadmus," that kind of deal. And you of course have to get younger stars. I couldn't really find anybody per se that I wanted to. I want to take a little bit of people from Riverdale.
Okay.
Cole Sprouse would be really good front runner.
Who is he on Riverdale?
He is Jughead.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
He would be great as the leader, and then
that kid's good.
The girl who plays Veronica, she would be like his co-part.
Yeah,
they would kind of run
co-lead.
They would kind of run the Cadmus group, and then you have all these other interchangeable characters. I would really, even not her, I would really want to have Maisie Williams.
Okay.
Be next to Cole, but also Maisie Williams being that character that's later on where they have to fight their friend. So she's the one that stayed at Cadmus, got more brainwashed while they left.
Oh man, that's a good twist. Yeah. Okay.
So I thought that would be a neat idea to do, and it would be geared towards teenagers and young adults as well. But also, like as a 29-year-old, I would want to watch the show too, because I want to watch Riverdale as well. So I also thought about having Dr. Morrow's Metallic Men make a cameo in this, because it would be like the first group of people that they would have to necessarily fight, because at this point Dr. Morrow is not on good or bad, and so he works for Cadmus, and they take it and they send the Metal Men out to try to stop them the first time. So bits and pieces of people that you see in the DC universe. Okay. Yeah, this is like so in Young Justice, Cadmus does make these group of teenagers that they're like this, but it's more of a line. They kidnap them. They don't necessarily grow them from birth. So these people would be grown from birth. So all they know is Cadmus.
Cool.
They don't know anything else until they get out.
You could do like not as exaggerated, but the reveal in The Village, in M. Night Shyamalan's The Village, where you find out that it's not a time period thing. Everything could look like it's in the 50s and all like idyllic and everything, kind of Stepford Wives or whatnot. Yeah. And then they find out by like maybe one of the teachers being a robot.
Yeah.
That they're not actual. Everything they've known has been like the Truman Show or something. Yeah. It's a completely controlled environment.
Definitely.
I like that. That's a good mid-season finale right there. There's a mystery, and then they escape.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a show.
So that's my first live action.
Your first live action. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to
pitch now.
This is the live action pitch that I am the most proud of. And this show would be Etrigan the Demon.
Ooh.
Nice. So at first this wasn't one of my go-to ideas for a show. This started as one of my honorable mentions, and then it was casting and like how to do the show that got me like, oh no, this would be a great show. So you format it similar to did you ever see the Highlander show from the 90s?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
Yep.
There can be only one?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
So you format it like that, where it's taking place in modern time, but it has a flashback to ancient times, right? So just a quick little history on Etrigan. Etrigan's real name is Jason Blood, and he was this guy in Camelot that Merlin fused a demon to basically be his like muscle, right? So Jason Blood has been around since King Arthur times. So you can pretty much do any time period, right? And I would try to theme every season as a time period flashback in a similar way that the Arrow show did the Island and stuff like that. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
So the first one would be Camelot themed because you're telling Jason Blood's origin and whatnot. But, you could do like the Civil War or something after that. You could do like the French Revolution.
Oh, dude, I was just thinking that him
You
and
could do Renaissance times.
yeah, or even during the American Revolution, him
Yeah.
actually being fighting along Andrew Jackson in Louisiana.
Totally.
Perfect.
Yep. You could do any time period post Camelot, which is basically everything.
Yeah.
Right. You can do. And here's where I think the casting is what gets it over the edge, I think. So for Jason Blood, I would cast Mads Mikkelsen. You know who that is?
Mads Mikkelsen.
He's awesome. As soon as you see his picture, you're going to know who he is. He is the villain in Casino Royale,
Oh,
the first Daniel Craig.
yes,
And
dude.
he's also Lucifer. in
yes, yes.
He's got this kind of like weird edginess to his look, to where you would be like, yeah, that guy's got something else going on with him, right?
Oh, yes, almost like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of deal.
100%.
Oh man.
And I would go the route that the 70s Hulk TV show did, and I'm going to double cast here. So the easy thing would be to make Etrigan a CG character or something.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to get a real live action guy, and I'm going to cast Dave Bautista as Etrigan. So
It would be really funny to see him play that though, because I feel like all the lines that Etrigan says are what Dave Bautista would say.
Gone, the form of man, enter the demon Etrigan. That's
Boom.
he always talks in rhymes.
Yeah.
If you don't know that about Etrigan, so yes, from a Dave Bautista standpoint, I think he would jump at the chance to do something like this.
The only thing he would get crucified in the Marvel Universe.
Well, he's already leaving Guardians because of the crap that went down with.
Is that
what's his
100%
name?
sure?
Yes.
It is?
Well, it's I don't know if it's 100% sure, but it's like highly. It's not. Huey's given us a.
Yeah, I didn't think it was. I think he was staying.
How do you do a Guardians movie without Drax? But I did hear him say that he wanted to be in the Suicide Squad movie.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
there's that at least.
Justice
And I think
League
he would
Dark.
Follow James Gunn around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, you could just do this in a Justice League
Oh,
Dark movie.
definitely.
That one Guillermo del Toro's been talking about making for forever.
Yeah, and you could actually have Etrigan as the lead.
Yeah.
Because in his human form, he would be the lead.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think they would probably do Constantine. That's who
I feel like they've overdone Constantine right now. Like in the.
Not to the general public, though, I don't think.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Because then you
Yeah.
have the whole House of Mystery and stuff, too.
Yeah.
That seems like the setting of the show, and if we're talking like actual budget stuff, then you only have, the House of Mystery is your main set.
So, I got
right?
you. Yeah.
And that's also how our Etrigan show would save money, is by doing each season a different time period flashback.
I got
because
you.
Then you only have a Camelot set for 1 year, and then you have a American Revolutionary set.
Yeah. And everything's futuristic CGI kind of joke.
Yeah. And you can, other characters from the kind of magic side of DC can make small appearances, like the Phantom Stranger,
Definitely.
or the Spectre,
Yeah.
or Dr. Fate, or the Wizard Shazam. I think having not
Just-
Shazam,
yeah.
but the Wizard
Yeah.
Shazam actually on there, I think would be pretty interesting.
Madame Zandu, Zatanna.
I guess it would be Zatanna's dad.
Yeah, yeah.
Would be
Mr.
just,
Zatanna.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I like that one, dude. That's cool.
Yeah, I
Did
want
you-
to see that show like yesterday.
Did you think of casting Michael Fassbender in that role?
No, honestly, as soon as I had
As you saw-
Mads in my
okay,
head, that's when
okay,
I was
that's
like,
fine.
all right, this is not
No,
an
that's
honorable
fine.
mention anymore.
No,
This
that's
is-
fine.
And Dave Bautista came to me like 2 days ago.
I gotcha.
Which also kind of puts that pitch over the edge, I feel like.
Okay.
Because that's something that modern TV shows don't do with the dual casting thing anymore. It seems like such an antiquated notion.
Yeah.
But there's a effects way to make that look good.
Oh,
as far as
definitely.
the transformation.
Yeah.
And then you just have... Dave
Because you
Bautista's
get
Etrigan.
the
Who doesn't
size
wanna
of
see that?
Batista.
Mhm.
Yeah, because you. Ooh. What if you could get Dave Bautista's voice in the Mountain's body?
That's why we're going straight on the Game of Thrones.
No,
here.
I'm just saying, like, because, I mean, when I think of Etrigan, I think of this really brooding big
Yeah.
character. Batista's big, but are we talking about Batista now or Batista when he was wrestling in the WWE? Because when he was wrestling in the WWE, he was 10 times bigger than what he is now.
I'm sure he can get back up to that.
Okay,
But
he's
he
going to pop
looks
roids.
massive, Inspector. Yes. Yes, he's going to pop roids.
Okay,
Do you
man.
think Dave Bautista
Okay.
hasn't?
No, he did when he was working with the WWE. Now, I don't think
Mm-hmm.
he is. If you look at his body back in the like 2000s to when he does now,
Yeah.
he is very lean and trim. He is a beefcake. Like, I have 24-inch pythons and they're coming for you, brother, kind of
Right.
beefcake. But it would be cool to see his voice with the Mountain's body.
Yeah. How
Just-
insulting would that be to Dave Bautista? They're like, you're big,
Yeah,
but you're not really
you're
like,
not that big.
Let's get the
But
mountain.
Etrigan is like, when you see him, He's a
good size.
He's a good size. He commands status.
Yeah, I mean, I did some, Google image back and forth between these two, and I think Batista.
You could do some scaling. Of course. Yeah,
totally. That's a great point. It just depends on how you shoot it.
That's awesome, man. I'm
Cool.
digging this. Really, we got to revisit this in 3 months and just do it again.
Because I could do more for my honorable
Oh,
mentions too.
same here. So my second live action one that I would pitch is Agent Grayson.
Okay.
And
I can't believe I didn't come up with that.
I can't believe you didn't either, because when I told you the other day and you didn't say anything about it, and I was like, Carter didn't think of Agent Grayson.
Right. I will say this is kind of your little cheating one, because Dick Grayson is in Titans, obviously. But it's not like this version. This is a very specific version of Dick Grayson.
Yes.
Just like my Green Arrow Green Lantern is a very specific
I didn't even think about that.
version of Green Lantern.
I didn't even think about that. You could put Agent Drake if you wanted to.
True, it doesn't have the same ring to it.
It doesn't have the same.
Agent Todd.
Agent Todd. Agent Wayne.
Yeah. People would be so confused.
They would be so confused.
Right.
They'd be like, "What is
Bruce?
Who's Bruce?
Right.
No, Damien. Wait,
Who?
What?
Right.
Agent Grayson, and it is shot as a Bond.
Yeah.
It has to be.
I'm already there, 100%. Can you set up just the premise of what Agent Grayson is for anybody who doesn't?
So Agent Grayson is a comic book from the New 52, but it's just Dick going undercover, being a secret agent.
Well, because the rest of the DC universe thinks Dick Grayson is dead.
Yeah.
And so Batman uses that to put Dick Grayson into Spiral, a organization whose intent is to find out the secret identities of superheroes. And this is also the comic series where, if you follow comic book writers, this is where Tom King kind of cut his teeth for DC. And now he's the head writer of Batman.
Yeah. So shot Bond-wise, but Dick Grayson is very much alive.
Yeah.
And no one knows that he's Nightwing, except for the Bat family. And Superman, of course.
He's not really Nightwing through that series, though.
No, so at this point,
yes, it's Agent 37, and he has a little G
badge
on his onesie.
I mean, yeah, pretty much his onesie.
Yeah,
unitard, if you want to call it.
Spy onesie.
But Bruce and him are working together to get him into Checkmate.
Right.
Checkmate is the corporation that's ran by Maxwell Lord. And Maxwell Lord's metahuman power is that he can control people's minds. Well, Bruce fits in with this apparatus that kind of fits behind his ear, and it blocks that from happening. Maxwell picks up on this and wonders why he can't read his mind, and he thinks that it's a metahuman gene that he's really, all in about. So he puts him in Checkmate. So he becomes Agent Grayson through Checkmate. And at this point, Checkmate is a small organization that's working underground, but has people everywhere. They have people next to the Queen. They have people next to Putin. They have people in high political positions. They have people on the lower tiers. They don't. So they're influencing what's going on in the world. And Agent Grayson is supposed to be kind of uncovering all this information and putting it to the forefront to let people know that this is what's going on.
To serve Batman's intelligence operation.
Pretty much, yeah. And this is where you really see the whole Brother Eye aspect come about because of what Dick is reconning for Bruce. So you don't ever really see Batman and you don't ever really see Bruce except for the very beginning.
Yeah.
Everything that Dick is saying to Bruce is relayed through messages. It's relayed through writing, through voice.
Any kind of spy communication.
Yes.
This message will self-destruct after 5 seconds.
Pretty much anything like that. So you don't ever. It's really just focused towards him. You don't really have a lot of superheroes coming in this.
No, totally.
Helena
Bertinelli is in that. Current Huntress. She runs one of the schools that Grayson comes in and out of.
Okay. So you could put. I actually wanted to put Barbara Gordon in this.
Yeah.
She is going to be a special operative that works for the CIA.
Okay.
And people know that
I could see that.
that she is Batgirl.
Yeah.
So every time that they meet up, she's torn to whether she wants to fight. So she has to put on a facade. So the whole first season is Grayson becoming this agent, kind of getting Maxwell Lord's trust. The second one is when we introduce Barbara Gordon and the fact that Barbara doesn't know what Dick is doing, but she can't ask Batman about it. because it would compromise everything.
Well, remember this. Don't the spiral agents, they have the actual like spiral over their face, right?
Yeah.
Where their facial features are distorted.
But this is not Spiral. He's working for Checkmate.
Okay.
This is Maxwell Lord.
Because then you could actually like...
Exactly.
All right.
So there's no like it's a great live action because it can be done on a budget.
Yeah.
Because most of the stuff is just gritty, hand to hand combat, maybe some explosions here and there, some gunfire, but no like I'm gonna swoop in and get somebody and then save the other person and whatnot. And
Our producer Huey just texted us that it's total Bond shit.
yeah, it really is.
I've described it before as Archer, but set in the DC universe.
Yeah.
And I think you could almost do that as an animated.
You
and
could.
get the exact team that made Archer.
You could make it even witty in some points, but I would actually want this to be adult themed.
Well, it's got to be fun because it's Dick Grayson, right? And it's spy stuff. So like Dick Grayson is fun. That's his character.
This is the point where we come to where it's not fun. He
Okay.
is older. He is doesn't like Batman's ways. That's why he ends up going into Checkmate because he wants to do something on his own.
But Bruce is controlling his actions.
He's
at
not
this
controlling
point.
his actions. That's the thing.
This is very off what the comic book was doing then.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm saying
'Cause
this
the
is
comic book was a lot of fun.
no. This would
He
this
made
would
up a theme song for his partner agent. And
this is where I kind of took the ball of just the idea of Agent Grayson and took it in a total different world.
sure, which is what producers and
Yeah.
stuff would do for it.
And that's why I say it's more or less a Bond because there's some quirky moments in it. Grayson is going to be this suave and seductive guy.
Yeah.
But the fact that
the best
Maxwell,
butt in the DC universe.
the fact that Maxwell Ward can't read his mind and can't control him makes him want to use him more because he seems like this is a guy that's doing this 100% for him.
Okay.
And that's why there's conflict between him and Barbara in season 2, and then later on in season 3, when he actually ends up, or season 4, or whenever the show wraps up, he eventually takes down Maxwell Lord, but he takes him down by himself. And it's not the way Bruce wanted him to do it. It's not the way the Justice League wanted him to do it. It's the way he wants to do it because that's what he seems like. And this is the point of Dick where he is not, or he's fed up. He wants to be on his own, where he wants to be Nightwing.
So this is pre-Nightwing?
No, this is Nightwing. Like, this is during Nightwing. He is Nightwing.
Okay.
Bruce pitches him this idea, and he's communicating and relaying information for the OMAC project, but he's not giving him 100% of what everything's doing. So Dick is doing some shady stuff to get around some things that Bruce can't see.
Okay. Which he does that in the comic anyways.
Yeah.
There's stuff that he doesn't want Bruce to know about. So,
So that's,
any casting ideas on Dick Grayson?
I
Would
do
you just use
have-
the kid from Titans.
no, I do not want him.
He's good, surprisingly.
He's good, but
Yeah.
I want him to be older. So
yeah.
I have one guy that I want to play Maxwell Lord, and that's Eric Dane. He played McSteamy on Grey's Anatomy. He was also the main character on The Last Ship.
Wait. I've never seen one episode of Grey's Anatomy. Is that actually that guy's last name? Like the actual characters?
No,
Okay,
his name
good.
is Sloan, but everyone calls him Mark Sloan.
Okay.
He's a plastic surgeon in the show. They call him McSteamy because
Okay.
he's friends with Patrick Dempsey's character, who was
That's all I
McDreamy.
needed to know about.
I love Grace. I love Grace. So, but Eric Dane, he was in The Last Ship. He's the front runner of that action-packed show. He's in Grey's. He's got really good acting chops. He is a very charismatic character that could play Maxwell Lord.
Yeah.
And you're going to hate me some more. Going back to the Grey's cast, tell me this guy does not look like Agent Grayson. I can't pronounce his name, but he plays DeLuca.
I could see that, sure.
He's one of the interns right now that's on this current season, but he's going to play Agent Grayson. His name is...
Go ahead.
His last name is Gianti.
Uh-huh. And then what's that first name, Mike?
Giacomo. Giacomo Gianti.
You did better than I did with Fujimoto's last name.
But it's very Italian.
Fujihana.
His name in the show is DeLuca. He looks like Agent Grayson would be. Suave, sophisticated guy. He's got a little bit baggier hair than I would, but you have to cut it for this one. But those would be my two main casting. And then you could just plug in people randomly.
I like that.
The person that I would have directing it is me, of course, because this is my idea. But actually,
That's a great answer.
I mean, definitely,
That's
it's
a
me.
great answer, yeah.
Because the way that the show would turn out, I feel like someone
For the
else
lead, I
would
think I would cast me. And then
would turn out would not
head
be.
writer, I think I would go with me.
But I actually don't have a director in mind because I don't know directors like you do.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know directors and producers like
Right.
out the ass, and I have no clue. So
I went to school for film. That's the
I know, that's why.
what I wanted to do. Was
Yeah,
direct.
so-
but
but
no, I thought they were actually going to go this route in the movies when you remember in Suicide Squad that like Scott Eastwood is in that and he plays this really like random small character and he dies. When I saw him die, I was like, oh, that's actually Dick Grayson, and he's already undercover for Bruce in Amanda Waller's operation. So I thought that the like post-credit scene was going to be, you find out Scott Eastwood is alive, he opens up his cell phone, and guess who answers is Batfleck, right?
Oh my gosh.
It would have been a great send-off there.
that would have been actually.
Yeah, but
I don't think it would have made
for
the
some
movie
reason they just
any
killed
better.
him and left him off
Yeah.
of it. No, it wouldn't make it any better, but we might get a
Hey.
Nightweek movie or something faster. after
So
that.
I thought about him dying and becoming Deadman.
yeah,
Like if he was, because in Justice storyline,
Right.
Nightwing dies, becomes
right, we
Deadman.
talked about that the other week.
But him in Suicide Squad becoming Deadman, and then that's how you introduce the Justice
Oh,
League
okay.
Dark, and the Justice League Dark actually fight the Suicide
Yeah.
Squad. But
I'm
that's
cool with that.
like nerding out right there.
Right.
So
That's all this is.
no, but that's super nerding. Like, because you're just like, who's Deadman? Who's the Justice League Dark? Why would that be in Suicide Squad?
Justice League Dark is such a great concept, though, that like just needs to be out there more. That current book is excellent right now, too.
Well,
and
that-
I would almost say do that for a movie where Wonder Woman is the lead of Justice League Dark.
Ooh, yeah.
You might be missing out on actually putting Constantine or some character that's not like as big as Wonder Woman yet,
Yeah.
from like a marketing standpoint. But
Big, yeah. Honorable mention.
yeah, sure. But that team is great. And it's actually a good transition into my first animated pitch.
Let's go, baby.
So my first animated pitch is a Detective Chimp
Let's
animated
go.
show.
I was so happy when you picked this one
Dude,
because
I
I didn't think about it at first, and when you pitched it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this would be amazing!"
Yeah,
it would be
I
so
love
amazing.
Detective Chimp. If you want Carter to buy something, put Detective Chimp in it, on it. I'm gonna buy it. Like you're gonna get my money after that.
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas this year.
Okay, game on. So for those who don't know, Detective Chimp is pretty much exactly what he sounds like. He is a highly intelligent chimp that solves mysteries and stuff, right? He has some origins that are pretty out there, like involving the Fountain of Youth and Rex the Wonder Dog and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna like make your eyes roll over here with all those, but I would set it in. Have you ever heard of the Oblivion Bar? You know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay. So Oblivion Bar is this bar that exists outside of other realities, and it's just for
Magical.
magic people in the DC universe to go and hang out, right? In several storylines, Detective Chimp is a alcoholic. So I would have his private investigator's office would be above
there?
the bar.
In some storylines, doesn't he own the Oblivion Bar?
He does, or
Yeah.
his buddy
Buddy
owns
owns
it too. And so yeah, basically people come into the bar with their problems, and Detective Chimp is there, and then they can just kind of go upstairs, and he gets a case. You know, it can be all film noir, like a femme fatale walks into Detective
Almost like,
Chimp's office.
What is it, Dick Tracy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or that season of Archer where they went back to the 30s or 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Now, I think this is the key here is to cast a comedian as the voice of Detective Chimp.
Seth MacFarlane.
No.
What?
No. My first thought was John H. Benjamin because of Archer.
Yeah.
I can just kind of see that, like, drone voice. But then after considering more, I think Patton Oswalt would be a phenomenal Detective Chimp and would have a better range than John H. Benjamin. Patton Oswalt is the voice of the main rat in Ratatouille, and he is an excellent stand-up comedian. Yeah, that's my Detective Chimp pitch. I think that would be pretty zany.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I know who you're talking about now.
Mike just Googled them.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
did
the pause was there.
I didn't know like
Yeah.
I know faces
Right.
like more than I know actual names of characters.
And fun fact, Patton Oswalt was in the same fraternity as me, so I'll plug him for that too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Where did you go to school again?
I went to Auburn.
Okay.
Or down.
I was waiting for it.
So is this your last one?
Yes, and then
Okay,
you'll be
so-
on your last animated
So
one.
this is your last live action.
Last live action, I think would be so neat to do, and it is Cord Industries.
Sweet.
Ted Cord is known as the Blue Beetle in the comics, but this show would not be about the Blue Beetle. It would be about Ted Cord himself. He is an entrepreneur. He starts his own company. He's a humanitarian. it's almost the reversal role of what Tony Stark is. Not a warmonger trying to make stuff better for the world. And then the whole first season is just him running his company. Like, he's making these tech stuff. Booster Gold comes in every now and then and chimes in. Yeah, you have to. But Booster Gold you never see them fight crime. They're just in certain areas where there's stuff going on. There's bad guys. They're trying to help the world. They go to Africa and try to get this warlord to stop poaching off water and letting people come to this watering well. Huey just texted us and said he knew it because I talked to him about it last week before he did the podcast about how I wanted this one. But him and Booster Gold go, and he figures out a way not necessarily fight the warlord, but make a system, a filtration system, to get that water to the people that need it without having to make confrontation with any side. He is like what's his name? I would almost picture him as a Kissinger, a diplomat.
Okay.
And then when he's doing these exhibition missions and helping out the world, he finds the Scarab, and the Scarab is more mystical.
Whoa, so you're merging the Blue Beetles.
Yes.
That's mind-blowing.
That's why you have to put... This is why the show is called Cord Industries, because you have to make the character of Ted Cord...
I have questions, but they're good questions, so continue.
So, like I said, you shoot it as an Iron Man aspect, except he's not doing anything. He finds the Scarab. He reaches into the Scarab and sees that there's all this technology that he didn't know about that could help the world. So he decides that he wants to start...
retro-engineer it. And,
kind of. In the process, this is what whole season 2 is about. He's retro-engineering. He's making bots. He's making planes. He's making digital media, holographic images come to you straight to your doorstep. It actually ties into kind of what Amazon's doing with drones, where he kind of branches out to delivering. This would be like a little side tangent where a couple episodes were filler, where he makes a delivery service, and it's all beetles that deliver your packages.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So, but then as he starts trying to retrofit the Scarab, it starts giving him more backfire, and he doesn't know what's going on with it. And so he eventually he's like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to open this protective case. I'm going to pull it out, and I'm going to see, because in one episode where he's fooling around with the Scarab, the wings go up. Never happened. He's had the Scarab for a couple of years now, and it's never done anything like that. He's like, what have I done? And he tries to replay the energy burst he's putting into it or looking at, and it doesn't happen. So he goes up there. He's like, screw it. Opens the box. Tries to put the wings back down because it's not producing any energy anymore, or letting him look at the technology that was showing him before. And when he puts it down, that's when it flips over, latches onto him. And then he sees everything that the Blue Beetle or the Scarab knows.
Right.
But it doesn't attach to him like it normally would.
Right.
It shows him, it detaches, he sits there and he's like, what in the world's going on? And in the background, you see the Scarab still has its wings open, and it shoots behind him. And so you see the wings of the Blue Beetle behind him. So that's where he gets the idea. So the show starts venturing on the fact that he starts making the suit. He tries to start talking to the Justice League, maybe start even asking Booster Gold, what do I do in the future? I found this, what I do. And he's like, I can't do that. It's off limits.
Booster's the worst person to ask for that.
I know. Because sometimes Booster will just be flat out.
And he's such an idiot.
And he'll just be like, I'll spend 4 years in jail for you to let you know about your future.
Right.
Something like that. Prison. Yeah. And he's like, I can't tell you this stuff. Yeah. And he tries to ask Skeets. Skeets is a big part of the show too. And he tries to ask Skeets, and Skeets is like, I'm bound by the law to not tell you anything that happens in the future. And it culminates to a point where Booster Gold dies. And that's where Ted Cord is like, I have to do something more. We've been doing so much good in the world. I have to actually be boots on the ground and fight. When Booster dies in some scenario where he's trying to do it, that's when he first puts on the Blue Beetle suit and he starts to fight.
That's not the end of your show, though, right?
No, that's not the end of the show.
Okay,
it's
I thought you were going to Smallville route at
no,
first.
No.
It's going to be everything up until the point you care about.
No, it's going to be it's going to lead up to that. Everyone thinks people are like, so he's going to be the Blue Beetle, he's going to fight, Booster's dead, what's next? And then it's instead of Cord Industries, that you actually make the title change to where it's
Ooh.
Ted Kord, Blue Beetle.
Okay.
So
Cool.
instead of just Kord Industries.
Any casting?
I had one thought as Booster Gold.
This is actually, funny enough, that's actually the casting I care about more.
Yeah,
than
you actually
Ted
have to
Kord.
have, like, I think you could probably put anybody in. I thought Michael Fassbender would be a really good Ted Kord.
Now, hold up. James Marston is
Would-
too big for the DC app, but fucking Michael Fassbender is going to be the Blue Beetle?
I know, and I knew as soon as I said something about that
Erroneous.
earlier. I know. I feel like that could be, but it's not going to happen. So it's not my number one pick.
Okay.
My number one pick.
Let's reel it back down to earth.
So my number one pick for Booster Gold would actually be Drake Bell.
All right.
He's kind of quirky
Yeah.
guy, whatnot, and you could even
Actually,
actually.
you wouldn't go older?
Well, see, this is no, because I feel like the Booster Gold that I'm referencing to travels back in time so much.
Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. I thought you said Ted Kord for that.
No. This is Booster
Drake,
Gold.
Yeah, he would
Drake
be,
Bell.
He would be fine. For
Yeah,
Booster.
going back and forth,
Totally.
kind of aged well, whatnot, kind of quirky, and even to the point where like Booster Gold's costume looks like the Shazam costume, where it's puffed up, it looks fake.
Okay.
Because he's all about his ego and
Yeah.
about how he's this person, this best
He's
superhero.
kind of
and-
like a reality TV star
exactly.
from the future.
Sponsors
almost.
all over his costume, like
He's
you can
a
think of like
colossal douchebag.
yeah. So I think even though Drake Bell is not a colossal douchebag, I think he could play that
Still.
character very well, and
I've got
it would be
three
great.
names for you.
Okay,
Any of which? Okay, go
Okay,
ahead.
sorry. And then for Ted Kord, it has to be somebody who's a little charismatic, and it's got to be someone who's a little bit older too.
That's,
I actually think Patrick Dempsey would be a great character for Ted Kord.
I can see that.
Now, Patrick Dempsey's probably never ever going to act again in his entire life, but if you pitch it in a way that I think that someone better that in linguistics than I can and Hollywood status could, I think he might be on board with it. And then, of course, I said Michael Fassbender. Michael Fassbender's like way out there. I also would think Eddie Redmayne would be really good casting for this. But he's the guy in the Golden Circle.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
guy from Kingsman.
Kingsman, yeah.
Yeah.
He would be good.
He could be a good Booster Gold.
He would be a good Booster Gold.
Yeah.
I still.
Oh, there we go. Okay, I
Yeah.
thought you were saying Ted Kord.
No,
at
no,
first.
no.
We're talking to our producer Huey B here again.
Yeah, he just said that Taron Egerton from Kingsman
Yeah,
could be
he would be a good Booster Gold.
Booster Gold. He would be, but there's so many other people that I would like to see play Ted Kord more than anything, because I think Ted Kord has a special place in the DC universe.
Agreed.
The whole Infinite Crisis
You're gonna
storyline.
piss some people off with merging those Blue Beetles, though, right?
I know, and I feel like that has to be kind of done for the live action stuff, just because.
I would disagree with that. I think Jaime Reyes is a strong enough character on his own to where there's Ted Kord. And
Well,
then
Jaime
years
comes-
later. There's
Jaime comes around at some point.
yes,
But this is after Booster dies.
yeah.
So Jaime becomes
Probably
his.
after Ted dies. At least in the comics, do they ever overlap?
Not really. There's one storyline where like Ted is kind of alive but kind of dead, and so like he's like, "Oh, hi, Jaime, this is me." Blah blah
Maybe
blah blah.
communicating through like past technology or
Yeah,
something like that.
but
So,
no. In this sense, after Booster dies, Jaime becomes like his next guy.
would you have Jaime on the show at all?
Oh,
As,
yeah.
like an intern or something like that.
I think Jaime is one of the people that Ted helps out. Like,
Okay.
like I said, with like the warlord, like in Mexico, there's a drug lord that's like that actually took his family and put him in like an internment camp to where they're working the drug fields.
Okay.
And he is actually part of like a coalition, like a rebel coalition is attacking him. It's like, hey, you're not old enough to understand this, but we're going to help you out. But you can't kill anybody. That gets understanding of what Jaime is about and his character, and then Jaime's parents die. It's almost like a Batman-esque.
Yeah.
He takes him in and teaches him stuff.
Sure.
But
like a Robin. to
yeah,
Blue
but that's
Beetle.
later on.
Seasons
like-
down the road.
Yeah, seasons down the
Sure.
road.
Sure.
And then, of course, Jaime Reyes would be played by me because I'm Hispanic, and I would love to do something like that. No.
But I do think it's important for DC to not. If they actually made this show, you couldn't merge them entirely because Jaime Reyes is, and Huey, you and I have talked about stuff like this where what's the closest thing that if DC was going to have a Spider-Man, who would it be? And I think Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes, is in that category.
Never thought about that.
Yeah. But
That's pretty neat.
Okay,
Yeah.
now I'm going to give you some names for Booster Gold here, okay?
By the way, Huey just said John Hamm is Ted Kord.
I can see that.
And I could see that, but Ted is a little quirky on the geeky side, so that's why I think Eddie Redmayne would play a good version of him.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
It would be an interesting take.
It is time for him to get something else.
Yeah.
He's a good enough actor to where he needs to move past the Harry Potter stuff for a little bit. I've actually heard his name thrown around with a lot of like different kind of fan casting stuff lately. Okay, my 3 names for Booster.
Okay.
All right. Zac Efron.
Okay. I thought about that.
Neil Patrick Harris.
No.
And this, in my opinion, would be the best. I don't know if you could get this guy, but this is the first guy I would call. JT Timberlake. Timberlake
is Booster
would
Gold?
knock Booster
Oh my
Gold
gosh.
out of the park.
Yeah,
he would
dude.
be hysterical
He
for
would
one,
be.
and you would buy all the like so into himself
That's
stuff.
true.
If you've ever seen Timberlake on SNL, any of those characters, it is infuriating how talented Timberlake is. Like if he wasn't this amazing singer and musician, he could easily be a full-time SNL cast member or like 100 different other talent jobs.
We started out as a Disney.
Yeah,
or
no,
Disney
totally.
kid,
Just like Gosling, Ryan Gosling's in the
Yeah.
same category. Gosling can sing, as La La Land showed, and he can act his ass off too. But yeah,
Oh, you know what'd be really
Justin
cool?
Timberlake,
If Justin Timberlake was Booster Gold and Ryan Gosling was Ted Kord.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Call up the Mouseketeers,
Do it.
right?
Yeah.
Get Brittany and Christina Aguilera. No,
Sorry.
she wasn't a Mouseketeer.
Yes, she was.
Was she?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
wow. She seems too scandalous.
But that's my number one because I feel that there's a storyline called the OMAC Project where Ted Kord goes undercover. I guess he's like off the radar of the Justice League, and that's what I love about Ted Kord. He doesn't do a lot of stuff with the League.
Sure.
He doesn't do a lot of stuff with other superheroes except for Booster. He ties in a little bit to like Green Arrow.
That's who Night Owl is a copy of. Is Blue Beetle.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm sorry. He's a Charlton Comics character. All
I
the
didn't know that.
gadgets and
Yeah.
the owl,
the owl
ship
and
everything.
the beetle ship.
Right. There we go. Yeah.
But there's the storyline that I'm referencing to is called the OMAC Project. It's right before it's like kind of the countdown to Infinite Crisis, and he discovers that Maxwell Lord has been controlling Superman, and he gets killed for it.
Mm-hmm.
Checkmate is trying to do all this other stuff, which I think this show could tie in a lot to Agent Grayson at some point. You could kind of
Totally.
overlap
You can
some
do
of these
show crossovers.
yeah,
Of that. Absolutely.
between those two, and then
But what if like Grayson got like some spy gadgety stuff from
Ted Kord?
Industries
Yeah, Ted
or
Industries,
something?
or Kord
He's his
Industries.
Q.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Today we have for you a lovely gadget that will murder everybody in a 5-foot radius.
Grayson, please put that down.
You're going to destroy
Stop.
everyone right now. But he kind of just Maxwell Lord is like, I should have never, discounted you out because he thought that Blue Beetle was lesser. Blue Beetle is one to not use guns too, like Batman. He's got like a sonic gun that can shoot like sound waves and stuff
Right.
like that. Maxwell Lord kills him, and then Wonder Woman kills Maxwell Lord, and that's where you start Infinite Crisis because it's
Okay.
it's publicized out
Oh,
everywhere.
yeah, I remember that now.
And so everyone's like, man. And to me, I love the Countdown to Crisis, and I love the OMAC Project too.
Mm-hmm.
That was really cool. But to have him a featurette and him almost like spy/thriller, I loved every minute of it. So that's
Yeah.
why it's my number one.
I like that. I like it a lot. Okay, for my last one, this is going to be my second animated pitch. And first, just kind of strap in because this is going to get wacky.
I'm ready.
The title of the show would be The Fifth Dimension's Finest, which is a play off of World's Finest, right?
Yeah.
So basically the general premise is what if Bat-mite and Mr. Mixaplex were roommates, right? So Bat-mite is this really silly character in the Batman universe that is from the fifth dimension, and he's basically the biggest Batman fanboy, right? Both him and Mr. Mixaplex are kind of like imps. They look like small humans, small adults, but not even to, anyways. but Bat-Mite's wearing like a loose-fitting Batman costume and everything.
He looks like a kid dressed up.
Yeah, and he is aware of Batman's like publication history and movies and stuff like that. In the Batman the Brave and the Bold cartoon, the last episode is a Bat-Mite episode, and it's Bat-Mite telling that version of Batman that he's canceled. So, like, it's that meta, right? Like, to him, it's still just a show.
So much
So
fourth
he gets
wall
to
breaking.
go into his own comics and stuff is what
Yeah.
Batman gets to do. Mr. Mxyzptlk is, usually cast as more of a villain-type role, but he is a trickster for Superman. The Superman has to get him to say his name backwards to send him back to the fifth dimension, right? So this would be part Looney Tunes and part The Odd Couple. So if you're going The Odd Couple, Bat-Mite is Oscar, right? He's the messy one, the kind of like the slob. And Mr. Mxyzptlk is very neat and persnickety. He would be the Felix character. And the Looney Tunes aspect, you could, with setting this like partially in the fifth dimension and then in whatever the normal DC dimension is, the third dimension, obviously, I guess, you could do any meta DC story you want to do. Bat-Mite and Mr. Mxyzptlk go to the 1940s comics. Bat-Mite and Mr. Mxyzptlk go to Frank Miller's verse,
Yeah.
and just kind of all kinds of hijinks and stuff ensue.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot of fun that could come from that, and from what I've seen, no one has ever paired those two characters together, and since they're kind of the same thing, but from Batman and Superman's perspective, why not do like a world's finest type play on them with them, but the fifth dimension's finest.
I like that.
So for casting,
Neil Patrick Harris has to be the voice of someone.
I didn't have him on this.
Oh
now.
my gosh.
Gilbert Gottfried was the voice of Mxyzptlk in the Superman animated series from the 90s, and just when I read a story that I hear Gilbert Gottfried still. So I would probably go with him, or I would go if he, for some reason he said no, which I very seriously doubt. I think someone like John Malkovich that kind of has like
cut
dull
voice.
kind of
Yeah.
very almost monotone.
But it's cut. Like you can hear it. You know it's him when he talks.
That's Felix, right, from The Odd Couple. And then for Bat-Mite, the only name that popped into my head was John Mulaney, who is an excellent stand-up comedian. He would be hilarious as Bat-Mite. He is Spider-Ham in the new Into the Spider-Verse movie. He would be excellent, and like that guy just needs to be in more stuff.
Definitely. That's
So
funny.
yeah, man, I think that show would be hysterical.
They could also, I don't know if you ever read the Batman Superman comic as World's Finest, and it's where they pretty much like Mr. Mxyzptlk gave some of his power to the Joker. They pretty much had like a battle of realities. There was alternate versions of Batman and Superman, but they were like in different characters. Like he had the monster instead of like Superman's strength. You had it was like it was almost like the Guardian in Superman's lore. It was Jeff Loeb did it. Loeb read it. It was in that strain of Batman Superman, and it showed them at the very end kind of playing chess pieces with them. And then Bat-Mite came in, and they all fixed everything together.
Nice.
So, and Hugh did say that there's occasional times where they'll team up and they'll just destroy the universe and then rebuild it the way they want to.
Bat-Mite and Mxyzptlk?
Every now and then.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
They're like little snippets. They're not like a big thing that we see in the comics. Like the World's Finest was a snippet of the Batman Superman stuff. That there was a whole arc that never really got finished in that because Jeff Loeb can do so much. Then all these other writers got in there. I even think Grant Morrison was in one of them, and it was just very convoluted. But that one was really neat to see. So I like that.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
All right. So what are some of your? Oh, there we go. Yeah, Huey just sent us a picture of Bat-Mite and Mxyzptlk together. See, to me, they even look good together, man. Like, I would watch a whole cartoon.
Oh, definitely.
Like, adult-style humor. Think like Harvey Birdman.
Yeah.
The attorney at law. Where that was really meta, right? That, like, Birdman is representing Race Bannon because he wants custody of Johnny, Quest, and Haji, right?
Yeah.
Like, stuff like that, but just Bat-Mite and Mxyzptlk. All right, you want to go through your honorable mentions real quick?
I'll just do it real quick.
Kinda...
I only had a short list. For animated, I want a new 52 Earth 2 storyline. And then this could be a made-for-DC app movie or it could be a cartoon show, animated show.
Yeah.
But Red Sun Superman.
Okay.
So
Cool.
those are my two really
Red
honorable
Sun
mentions.
is too good of a story to not be in some film version.
Exactly.
Yet.
Exactly.
Okay, I have a few here. I'm gonna just throw out to me the most obvious one that I really thought you would say is The Question.
I thought
The
about
Question
it.
needs a TV show, and you could make that show.
You could make
for
it live action, too.
super cheap.
Yeah.
And you can make it live action.
Mhm.
I have heard that Kevin Smith wrote a script and like pitched it, but it wasn't accepted.
Mm.
Yeah, I would want to see what that sounds like. Gotham Central. If you're not familiar with that storyline, that is like it was a book on what it's like to be a regular cop in Gotham. It's basically what the show Gotham should have been. Is Gotham Central? Give Jim Gordon the lead, but Batman is more of a like urban legend that your normal beat cop thinks may or may not exist. To me, it is terrifying to think of a regular Gotham City policeman. If they could be, there's a scene in one of the comics of Gotham Central where they think they're going into like just a normal bad guy's hideout, right? Some apartment. And they open the door and it's Mr. Freeze. And like, if you're a regular cop and you're like not Batman,
Oh, okay.
we only see Gotham really through Batman's prism.
Yeah.
And if you're anyone else, Gotham is fucking terrifying. Especially as a cop that could just like accidentally run into one of his rogues galleries.
Yeah.
And then this is my kind of, I would have Batman in it by not having Batman in it. He would be in the shadows only, very quick motions, and if there was any moment where he was talking, his face would be concealed in shadows, and I would get Kevin Conroy to do the voiceover for him. An animated Super Sons show, I think, is going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, it's too good of an idea to have Damian Wayne Robin and John Kent Superboy together. That writes itself. Adam Strange, I think, is a great property. That you can eventually do something with. I love the part to me that gets me with Adam Strange is the Zeta beams that gets him to the planet Ron. That those can wear off, and there's no like timing for it.
Yeah,
and he's just randomly transported back to Earth, and he has to figure out when the next Zeta beam is going to hit. That's your mid-season finale.
So
he's in the middle of a giant war with the Princess of Ron, and the Zeta beams wear off, and he just goes back to Earth.
They did in the Young Justice storyline, they did stuff with the Zeta beams and whatnot. Had Adam Strange come in there,
Right.
and do that.
He's in the Krypton show, by the way.
Okay.
Which, for a show that shouldn't exist, is surprisingly good. That's about as much as I'll say about the Krypton show.
I just thought of one while you were talking.
Okay.
I liked your idea of like a Gotham Central.
Yeah.
The eyes of the police officers.
Yeah.
But instead of just doing the eyes of police officers, you also do it through the eyes of Gordon.
Okay.
But not as commissioner yet.
Sure, he's a cop coming
Yeah.
up, and again, like what the show Gotham should have been.
But it wasn't.
But man, they fucked that show up. This is another one that, and I think you could do this as just a straight up comic too, but I would call it Henchman. And it's the story of just a normal guy who's a henchman, and like maybe for one season he works for the Penguin, but the Penguin doesn't have really good health care. So like he goes to like Two-Face the next time.
So it's a comedy.
But
right?
yeah, it's a comedy that kind of pokes fun at like the intricacies of how these supervillains get these dumbass people to like follow them and staff them. Like where are they getting these guys from? So yeah, that's just it'd be kind of funny. But
my last honorable mention is Batman Beyond. Just Batman
Oh,
Beyond again.
You're gonna see that as a movie before.
I don't care. I just want it again.
Right.
Just give it to me again.
Any form of
Any
that.
form of that, just give it to me.
Just give me
I don't
more.
even care if it sucks. Just give it to me again.
Oh, I care if it sucks.
I mean, I do care, but I'm just saying, just give it to me.
Right.
Do it.
That would do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
All right, man. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. I think as our honorable mention shows that there's a bunch of different other ways you could go with these. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe we'll have to kind of dig this topic back up at the in like a year or something like that, and give that a shot.
What if some of these stuff happened?
That'd be great. See, actually, I was trying to start a podcast about a year ago. It was very similar to this format, and we did a test recording that was this topic. And one of the ones I pitched was Doom Patrol. Well, guess what?
It's a TV show now.
It's an actual
so
Doom
somebody
Patrol
is
show.
out there listening.
No, it's
Sons of bitches.
it's such a
Just
great,
kidding.
it's just such a great concept. That show is, by the way, if you haven't seen the Doom Patrol,
It's on the DC
pilot,
streaming app.
it's so good. It's so good. to me, the hook of what I'm telling people to get them interested in it is that the narrator is the villain of the series. Which that is
Nice.
and one of the first things he says, like, he's kind of omnipotent through his powers and stuff. It's Mr. Nobody, if you know who that is. He says, he's like, ugh, another superhero TV show. Have you hung yourself yet? Like, it's just, it's that, and it's Alan Tudyk is voicing it.
Okay.
Who's
Sweet.
Steve the Pirate
Yeah.
from Dodgeball, and he was Wash in Firefly, which I love me some Firefly.
I know you do.
Okay, well, that was These Guys Have Issues with each of our 5 pitches for the DC streaming app. Be sure to join us next week where Mike and I are going to tell you how we would fix the DCEU.
It's going to be a big topic to cover.
Yeah, this is how we would fix the DC movies, because there's clearly, they're going to have some kind of continuity problem coming up here soon, so that should be fun. Mike and I have already kind of gone back and forth a little bit with that one.
Before we did tonight's podcast.
Yep. But that will be another fun one. So be sure to join us next week here on These Guys Have Issues. I have been your host, Carter Hutchison.
And I'm your co-host, Mike Thomas.
This episode was produced by Huey V. And we'll see you next time, kiddos.
This has been a Grassroots Comics production. Da da da. So what's your story?
What are you? Some kind of silly cartoon?
You got a problem with cartoons?